Hi everyone, it's another request video. So many of you have been writing and commenting on my tattoos and wanting to know what the meaning is behind them, what they are and how I came about choosing them. So I'm going to tell you about each and every one of my tattoos. I have 4 in total. And it all started, I got my first one when I was 18. My mother hates tattoos, and as long as I lived under her roof, she absolutely forbade me to ever get a tattoo. So what did I do my first semester in college? Because technically I wasn't living under her roof. I went and got a tattoo. I had been wanting the exact same tattoo since I was 16. So I figured if I wanted it at 2 years later, it was probably a pretty safe bet. And it all started with my frog tattoo. It is an Amazon rainforest frog. I partly chose it because it's an endangered species, but also, I love frogs. I like how their little toes end up feeling on your skin when they suction cup to you and it's like sticks. I love it. I love the feeling of it. So that's why I ended up getting it. And it was hard for me to find red coloring that I could wear in clothing and whatnot, because sometimes being a redhead, reds clash really bad unless it's the perfect shade. So I kind of made a rule from the get-go that my tattoos were always going to have red in them. So that was my one request besides the specific frog tattoo. So it's red and yellow. I've had it for years. It was my very first tattoo and it completely symbolizes rebellion. It was just a total rebellion thing. But after all these years, I still love it. It's a little piece of my history, which each one of my tattoos is that way. I use them as a totem. So it's to help remind me where I came from and how I have evolved. And I sometimes forget where I came from and how far I've come. So my tattoos are a great reminder for me of exactly that. So the first one was the Amazon rainforest frog. And I didn't know until years and years later. And some stranger ended up telling me, he ended up coming up to me and pointing at me at my tattoo, my frog tattoo. And he was like, Coco scene, Coco scene, Coco scene. I was like, what's going on? I don't even know this guy. What did I do? Did I do something? Whoa, wait a minute. So he gets up closer to me and he has to tell me. He's actually from Costa Rica. And my frog tattoo was exactly the Coco scene from Costa Rica. And so I had to ask him about it. And he was telling me the Coco scene is the Costa Rican version of our American cricket. They're kind of a nuisance over there for him. So since my frog tattoo never got named, it's now the Coco scene. Anyway, so that's my first tattoo. My second tattoo was the one on my lower back. And I didn't know until after I got it, and I find humor in this, that the Germans, the literal translation for that specific type of location of tattoo is called ass horns in English. And I thought, oh, how funny. It was perfect. What a humorous way of calling that, instead of in the US it sometimes is called tramp stamp or other names that really aren't appropriate and always fitting for people. So I call it my ass horns because it sits right above my butt cheeks and it frames it perfectly. And I got that when I first moved to Texas, and it's a tribal tattoo. It really, the tattoo itself, the design doesn't really mean anything, but for me it represents spreading my wings, and that's why it's so long. And just letting them open and forgetting pretty much everything I was taught and raised to believe and societal perceptions, and figuring some things out for myself and following my own passions and my own dreams and figuring out who I really was and what I wanted to do in my life, because up until that point I hadn't been very happy in my life and I was tired of it, and I felt like I was too young to be feeling unhappy about my life situation. So it was a representation, that tattoo is a representation for me of figuring that out, that journey, that period of my life where I was changing who I was into who I really wanted to be and not who I was expected to be, and experimenting with things and trying different jobs and careers and figuring out what worked for me and what made my life happy and what was going to be important for me for the rest of my life. And I luckily have, along that journey, been able to do that. So it's been a beautiful thing, and every time I see it, I get reminded of that decision and that choice in my life of pursuing that. And I'm so grateful, and it makes me really happy every time I see it. So it's colored red and black. I had it actually done in Dallas. You know, that red, it's always there. It's always part of my feel-good power, one of my power colors. I just didn't want the design to be over accentuated, and the heart is part of the reason why I did the color scheme I did and the way I had it done. I was really particular about it because I didn't want it to be too girly. And so it achieved that. It gives it a little bit of that hard edge, that tribal edge to it, but still allows that red to be incorporated. And I love it still this day. It's been years since I had it done, and I still love it. And the funny thing about my tattoos is because I'm so fair complected, the ink retains in my skin really well. So each piece I have doesn't look any different than the day I walked out of the tattoo parlor with it. I stay out of the sun as much as I can, and I protect them and make sure that they stay hydrated. I take care of my tattoos as well to make sure that that ink stays as colorful and as bright as possible. So that's 2 of my tattoos. My third one I had done years and years later. It was about 8 years in between my second and third one. And it was a tattoo I really had to earn for myself. I had to earn it in life. I actually had a dream about it, and dreamt the design exactly how it ended up being tatted, which I love. I had this amazing artist here in Austin, Texas, who did it, and I went in with some examples, tattoo examples of aspects that I really liked, and then I just relayed my dream to her. So 8 years in between my second and third one, and it took me those 8 years of earning it. It is a phoenix, a little bit of a traditional style mixed with more of a freestyle concept. Of course, it has red in it, as my other 2 do. But I really wanted the bright colors, and I wanted to bring out the colorfulness of what the phoenix can mean. And there is an aspect that it does represent the standard belief system of a phoenix, which is rebirth, coming up out of the ashes. And it does represent that for me in that 8-year period of my life. I actually had it done before I decided to go into more of an adult venue. It was a way for me to stay grounded and stay true to who I was and my beliefs and what I wanted out of life in this adventure. It was a way for when things got hard for me to have a grounding and a solid stance to remind me of what was important to me and what mattered in my life, no matter what got thrown at me and no matter how hard or how difficult life was during that period. I wasn't gonna let those things that I didn't necessarily like about myself and the things I did like about myself stop or prevent me from any of my pursuits in life. And so it was a strengthening piece. And I know this may sound kind of odd, and I don't know if any of you with tattoos have had this feeling, but when I had it done, I actually felt more grounded. I felt more solid in who I was. I didn't feel as wishy-washy about where I was going and headed and what I was doing in life. And I felt like I had a really solid direction about who I was and what I wanted to be doing. So that's what the Phoenix is. And I have to say, it took about 3.5 hours to have that piece done from start to finish, which is a good deal of time in the tattoo world. And the colors I chose, which I did not always know this about tattoo work. So red is a really intense ink. It feels more intense than most of the other colors. It's because of the chemical compound in the ink that ends up making it more intense. It's intense for your skin during the process, in the healing process, the whole complete process of being tattooed. But the teal in my Phoenix tattoo, oh my gosh, was even more intense than the red was. And it is actually, I later found out that it's actually one of the most intense ink colors you can have done because of the sensitivity of the skin and the chemicals compound that it requires in order to make that type of pigmentation. And it was worth every moment of it. I like being tatted. It's very therapeutic for me. It's very relaxing. It's kind of like getting a full body massage for me. So I always have to take somebody with me because I fall asleep a lot of times and I don't want to goof up the tattoo artist. So I did that Phoenix tattoo in the full 3.5 hours without a stop, without a hesitation. I like to go through the process and I'm always sober. I think it's really important to feel the process because that's part of the therapy for me. That's part of having the full and honest experience of being tattooed, and I love it. So never any painkillers or sedatives or no alcohol. I don't even take an ibuprofen unless it starts bothering me because I've been up on it right afterwards too long. And then I might take 1 or 2, but I really enjoy the entire process from start to finish for me. So that was my third tattoo, and I actually had, you'll see on it, there is purple, there's a purple olive branch. And I just like the symbolism of what the olive branch means. Hope, it's inspiration, there's a calming sense for me. And I really wanted purple because that's one of my other power colors in the tattoo as well. And I love the dynamic range of the color. I love how the shading was done on it. It's one of my favorite tattoos, and it turned out, the artist was fantastic. It turned out exactly how I had pictured in my head. When she first showed me the design when I was approving it, I was blown away. She set it in front of me. It was a woman who tattooed me, which was really important for this particular piece. I wanted a feminine touch to it. I didn't want anything that was too masculine because a lot of the Phoenix tattoos I'd seen, they were too hard. And I wanted that soft edge to it because it was going to be on me. So she set the design down in front of me and I just went, that's it. We're good. Let's go. She goes, there's nothing you can change about it? And I said, no, that's exactly the image I had in my head. So I was greatly impressed and thrilled with her work and the concept. So that's my Phoenix tattoo. So then my fourth tattoo and my last tattoo is actually based off of an ancient Druid symbol of the Tree of Life. And it does symbolize exactly that. Being Irish and Celtic descent, it was really important to me to have some type of symbolism. One that I didn't care if anybody understood what the tattoo looked like. That's why I had a play of positive negative space done on it. So it kind of messes with your eyes and it messes with people. A lot of people think it's an alien head or a brain or something like that, and it's not. It's a Tree of Life symbol. And it's all green because I wanted the earth tones in with it. So there's no red in that one, but I haven't quite finished the piece either. I'm gonna add more onto it at a later date. The same woman who did my phoenix ended up doing my tree of life, and I did it in the old Japanese style of tattooing, but in a modern way. So what I mean by that is the old Japanese style of tattooing is actually using a bamboo stick with a tapper, and they put the ink on the end of the bamboo stick that's forked. So it kind of looks like prongs of a fork, a dinner fork. Well, I did it in a gun means, and then they tap that bamboo stick on the end and insert the ink underneath your skin, and it's extremely painful. It's very delicate, it's very time consuming. So I wanted to experience that technique. Talk about an intense process. Now it ends up creating a ghosting type of effect, that tattoo style, and not every tattoo artist does it. So I was really happy that she was able to perform the style. So it kind of ends up looking on the edges a little faded out, which I love that aspect of it. And after she got done with the half hour of tattooing me, and I was almost like grinding my teeth because it was such an intense process. It was a process I had never experienced anything like it in tattoo work. So when she got done tattooing, she wipes it off and she goes, "Go look at it." And as I'm walking away, she replies to me, "Now you've been marked by the gods." So this ancient Druid symbol of the Tree of Life is actually a marking that they used to use back, centuries ago with the Druids to give your life and your soul and who you are up to the gods for their work and their doing. And ever since I had that tattoo done, I've given my life up to a higher power, a higher being, a higher belief system, and let go of any contrived ideas of how I thought I wanted my life to be and how I thought I wanted it to go, and realized I didn't always know best for myself. So I go by intuition now. And ever since I've had the tattoo, my life has been so much happier. It's been more relaxed, more pleasing. And as long as I listen to that feeling inside of me and follow the direction that life gives me, it stays that way. And so that's what that tattoo represents for me. And it was a great thing, because just like my Phoenix tattoo, it ended up making me less concerned about simple things that I shouldn't have been worried about anyway. And it grounded me. It gave me a higher purpose, a higher thing. And I think about my life a little bit differently, and I think about it more and what I should do and how it's going to affect other people, and what can I do in my life to positively influence other people and bring joy and happiness for others in multiple different ways. And so those were my tattoos, and that's what they mean for my life and my personal evolution and my life evolution. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my tattoos. I would love to hear about yours. Do they mean anything for you? If you don't have tattoos, is there a reason why? Maybe it's just not your thing. Tell me in the comments below, because I would love to hear it. Or get involved with my social media and let me know through there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Would love to see your ink as well. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I hope you enjoyed this, and what a great idea from you guys. I love it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know to continue creating content that you love and videos that you want to watch. I'll see you later. Have you ever seen a girl's boobs while she was bending over? If so, what was the experience? I'm a bit jaded in this. I spent a lot of time in strip clubs. Seriously, I've seen a lot of girls' boobs bent over. I've even seen them in public in the grocery store.